Hi, everybody. This is Joe Firestone, and this show is Empowering Democracy. And my topic for tonight is Dump the Corruption, Fundraising of Jill Tokuda, and Nydia Velasquez and Madeleine Dean. That is, we'll be going over the fundraising of these three members of the CPC. I'll probably be joined shortly by Dolores Pierce, my friend and frequent collaborator on these shows. I was just on her Around the World with Brandy and Dee show with Madeline Hoffman. And they're completing that show, but of course I had to come over here because it was time to start off, on this show. So as you know, what we do in this show is we use open secrets to examine the fundraising of the folks who are presumably the most lefty and small d democratic folks in the Democratic Party, the people in the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Now, you all know that they are really not so small d democratic as all that. We know there are a lot of people in the Congressional Progressive Caucus who we would not commonsensically designate as being very progressive. For example, in the case of Madeleine Dean, she is one who, doesn't appear to be particularly progressive. And so, but nevertheless, there are some people in the CPC who are generally considered as lefties, real but lefties. We've kind of lost faith in them as lefties, a little bit, but they probably still do think of themselves as such. Hi, Steve. How are you doing? Steve says, hello, Doc. And Kay Ryan says, hi, Joe and Steve. Hi, Kay. Great to see you here. Great to see you too, Steve. So, as I was saying, they're not really very lefty, and we kind of know that. But still, if anybody in Congress is likely to pass the litmus test we have, then that litmus test is likely to be passed by someone in the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Now, with this show, we are nearing the end. There still may be 2 or 3 people to catch up, but I think we're coming to the end of our survey of the caucus. We have the other 3 congresspeople I mentioned tonight to examine. And then there are probably 2 or 3 people that either myself or Kayla Mallard has failed to cover. But I don't think there are many. So we're almost done with the caucus. And just to briefly refer to the past, we have not found one congressperson yet who would pass the litmus test. The people who are probably closest to passing it are people like AOC, maybe Katie Porter, maybe Bernie Sanders, who is, of course, a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, even though he's not in the House of Representatives. He's the only senator who's a member of the CPC. But his funding was examined by Kayla Mallard earlier. And while a very large part of his funding comes from small dollar donations, there is considerable money there that comes from people who are reasonably wealthy, okay, or from some PACs. So even Bernie does not pass. With respect to AOC, people on the left have been constantly complaining about her. But still, much of the contributions she gets, a huge amount, are from small dollar donations. But again, in her case, there's money from wealthy people and money from PACs and money from party committees. And so she hasn't passed either. With that as a preamble, I will now start examining the specific individuals we're covering here today. So first is Jill Tokuda, a new congresswoman from Hawaii. She was the winner there. Let me share the screen for you so you can see it too. Having a little trouble finding the one I want. Oh, there it is. It was Hawaii District 2, 2022 race from Open Secrets. And here's the summary data for Jill Tokuda and the people running against her. Here are the total raised and spent figures. Okay, Jill Tokuda, who was the winner again, raised $1,014,970, spent $814,234. She ended with cash on hand of $200,736. A very good start for the 2024 campaign. The Republican, Joe Akana, raised only $71,650, spent $70,545, ended with negative cash on hand of $1,052. But the disproportionate differences between the two indicate that this is a totally Democratic district. The Hawaii is second. Open Secrets did not have data for the following candidates: Michelle Tippins, who was a libertarian. In outside spending, there was considerable money spent on a Democrat by the name of Patrick Branco, who raised $884,860 in support of Patrick Branco. And there was also Kai Kahela, who was supported by $8 of outside money. And Joe Akana was opposed by $8 okay, of outside money. Jill Tokuda was opposed by $600,455 in outside money and supported by $318,128. Altogether, she had something of advantage over Patrick Branco. Okay, I suppose that he was her main opposition in the primary. It'll be interesting to get into more specifics of the outside spending, okay, that occurred. But let's go over to the candidates tab and learn some more. So Jill Tokuda was the winner with 62.3% of the vote. And there again, the figures for what was raised and what was spent. So Jill Tokuda raised $75,334 in small individual contributions. Outside of the outside money in her favor, there were large individual contributions, accounting for 66.15% of what she raised, $671,369 in large individual contributions. Large individual contributions greater than $200, come from relatively wealthy people, generally speaking. That's not always the case, but it's the case most of the time. So her campaign was dependent on large individual contributions from well-off people. Hang on a second. I hear somebody joining, so I will let them in. And that somebody is my friend Dee Pierce. Hello, Dee.
Oh, Joe. Yes, it was a great show tonight. So we ended a bit late, but I'm in here.
That's great. It was a great show tonight, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I am in the middle of going over the spending record of Jill Tokuda, a new Hawaii representative. It's her first period in the Congress, and what I was saying was, and what's showing on the screen, okay, is the figures for what she raised and how she raised it. Okay, and you can see on the screen that there was only 75,334 in small individual contributions. Large individual contributions, which of course will largely come from fairly well-off people, at least 671,369, and then PAC contributions 219,700, 21.65%. And she had $48,567, 4.79% of her contributions from other sources. Okay, the quality of her disclosures was 91.56%, full disclosure, but there was incomplete disclosure or no disclosure in close to $24,000 of her contributions, which is interesting. Don't know what that means exactly. The Republican, Joe O'Connor, raised $71,642, spent $70,545, somehow ended with a negative cash on hand. In his case, he had small individual contributions of $5,000, large individual contributions from wealthier people, in other words, $20,310, and he had self-financing of $45,665. The quality of his disclosures was even worse than Tokuda's at 80.8%. He had no disclosure for 0%, but he had incomplete disclosure for 3,900. dollars. Since he raised 71,000 altogether, well, I guess that 45,000 is what accounts for the difference. Okay, the Libertarian, Michelle Tippins, they had no data on. There are other candidates who ran in the race. Let's see what we can find out about Patrick Branco, because it may not be in the other tabs here. Let me just see if there's any useful information here about him. We know from the earlier tab that we looked at that he got quite a bit of outside spending in his favor, something like 800,000 in outside spending. He also raised 177,339, and his individual contributions, his small dollar contributions, in other words, less than 200, were 119,819. His PAC contributions were 64,000. I guess this doesn't distinguish between individual contributions from less than 200 and individual contributions from wealthy people. So probably most of those individual contributions came from fairly wealthy people in his case. That's also kind of implied by the outside group support that he got. Okay. Anyway, that's the data we have on him, which is somewhat suggestive. But let's go back now to other tabs for Jill Tokuda. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those, which let's just quickly roll through them. Okay, Tokuda got contributions from Matson Incorporated, 21,300. State of Hawaii, 19,228. Democracy Engine, 16,550, which is a national group that came in to contribute for her. Also, University of Hawaii gave her 12,372. Those probably were individuals who worked for the state. She got contributions from Kaimana Hila. I'm not exactly sure what that is. Maybe a business. 11,809. Community Planning and Engineering gave her 11,600. Emily's List gave her 11,350. Imanaka Sato LLC, a law firm, 10,900. Elect Democratic Women, 10,000. Credit Union National Association, 10,000. National Association of Realtors, 10,000. American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, 10,000. That is Ask Me. The Ask Me group. Always find it hard to say Asks Me. Everybody probably does. And there's the Privateer Space, 9,800. The Kobayashi Group, 9,800. Central Pacific Financial, 8,400. So she got a number of small contributions from some groups. Joe Akana got very few contributions, 3,000, 2,900, 2,000. 2,900 came from the DOD commissary. He must be a veteran. And they didn't have data for Michelle Tippins. So that gives you at least an idea of who liked Jill Tokuda. You know, enough to give her some money. This is a breakdown by industry. Retired people, 93,370. Her biggest area of contribution by industry. Real estate, 48,164. Democratic Liberal, 38,091. Leadership PACs, 85,400. Lawyers and law firms, 31,616. Civil servants, 28,403. Lobbyists, 24,350. Sea transport, 21,000. Building trade unions, 20,000. Health professionals, 19,900. Human rights, 19,166. So there was money. In most cases, let's read the note up here. Most members of Congress get the bulk of their campaign contributions from two main sources: the industries that make up the economic base of their home district, and the Washington-based interest groups that pay more attention to the members' committee assignments in Congress. In addition, most Democrats receive substantial sums from labor unions. From this table, you can get a flavor of which of the top industries giving to the candidates running for Congress. And do the industries match your local economy? Are they more Washington-based? Here they seem to be divided between the local economy and Washington-based. If the latter, the candidate may have divided loyalties on issues where the interests of their cash constituents conflict with those of the voters who elected them. So let's move on now. So far, with respect to Jill, we have the idea that she takes money from well-off people, and she does take some PAC money. We'll learn more about that in just a minute. Here are sectors. By sector, what's important to her: agribusiness, 12,510; communications, electronics, 11,550; construction, 15,650; defense, only 750, which is interesting because defense is omnipresent in Hawaii. Has a very big presence, but they didn't contribute very much to her. Energy, natural resources, 22,450. Finance, insurance, and real estate. That's the top basis of contributions. Her contributions, 103,488. That appears to be the biggest sector, unless we find something big down here. Labor is 66,500. The biggest is well, wait a minute. There's the ideology single issue sector. That's the biggest except for the other sector. She got 139,332 from the ideology single issue. That may have to do with the abortion issue. That may be what we're looking at here. Other is 154,819. We don't know what's in the other category at all. Interesting that the Republican, Joe Akana, got only $500 from the fire sector. I find that really very, very interesting. So let us move on to PACs. And we see here that I'll just read the table. It's easier to see. She got 39,500 from business PACs, 66,500 from labor PACs, and 109,970 from from the ideological PACs, $0 from other PACs. So obviously she does take PAC money. That was important for her campaign because, let's see, She raised about 20% of her money from PACs, so that was significant for her. Outside spending. She raised 318,128 from the outside spenders. But in her race with Patrick Branco, for the nomination, he was supported by $884,860 from super PACs and carry committees. And she was opposed by 600,455, in outside spending. So if we add the opposition to her and the support for her opponent, Branco, you can see he had $1.4 million to play with. She had 318,000 supporting her in outside spending, but she also raised $1 million on her own. So the financial resources of one side versus the other in the primary were probably fairly equal. And Patrick Branco might even have had a disadvantage there. But outside spending was significant, in the primary in this campaign, not in the general. Committee for Hispanic Causes Bold PAC gave 406,000 to somebody. The CPC gave 288,157 in outside spending. That was probably in favor of Joe Tokuda. Dow for America, which is a carry committee, gave 221,373 to somebody. The Democratic Party of Hawaii gave 99.71. That was probably to Tokuda because I think she was their choice. The Mainstream Democrats PAC, which is actually a super PAC, gave $178,488 to Jill Tokuda. The Medicare for All PAC gave $20,000, but I don't know who that went to. Planned Parenthood gave only $16 from their super PAC. Web3 Forward is a super PAC that contributed $250,000 to somebody. I don't know which of them got that. Vote Vets.org gave 424,962. I don't know if that went to Branco or whether it went to Joe Tokuda. But outside spending was very significant. That must have been quite a battle to win the primary between the two of those. I'm going to check that out, Ballotpedia, and see what happened there. It looks very interesting. So that was Hawaii District 2 and Jill Tokuda. We can see she took PAC money. She took a lot of money from fairly well-off individuals. She fails the litmus test. Okay. Next, let me share the screen for Nydia Velasquez, a veteran from New York. Nobody passed the litmus test so far. So, anyway, let's look, at Nydia Velasquez. She ran in New York District 7. She's a veteran, of many years. And, of course, was an establishment favorite. In the summary, she raised 600,501. She spent 607,632. Ended with cash on hand of 303,251. She's in a pretty Democratic district. In outside spending, there was very little outside spending, $18 in support, okay, of Nydia Velasquez. So she's in a Democratic district, a solid Democratic district. There was no data for Juan Pagan, who was the Republican opposing her. Okay, I think this is going to be a pretty open and shut one. The candidates tab tells us she won by 80.5% of the vote. Solid Democratic district. Small contribution, she raised only $16,792, 2.8% of her total. Large individual contributions, 322,487, 53.7% of the total. That's contributions greater than $200 from well-off people. The PAC contributions, 261,900. So she fails on two counts. Okay, right there. PAC contributions were substantial. Large individual contributions were substantial. Small individual contributions were very, very, very small. Her quality of disclosure was 100%. There was no data for the Republican candidate. He evidently ran. His name is Juan Pagan, but there's no data. Let's see. Why have I lost my scroll bar here? I don't know. Let me see if I've got it. Oh, I see. There's nothing to scroll. These tables list the top donors to candidates in the 2021-2022 House election cycle. The organizations themselves did not donate. Rather, the money came from the organization's PACs, their individual members or employees or owners, and those individuals' immediate family. So Nydia got Metropolitan Recycling, 16,600. J Street contributed 12,168. That's the pro-Israel organization that recognizes Palestinian rights. Investment Company Institute gave 10,000. ADA gave 10,000. The American Dental Association, American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. The AFSCME group gave 10,000. American Federation of Teachers gave 10,000. American Rental Association gave 10,000. National Association of Realtors gave 10,000. National Multifamily Housing Council gave 10,000. Small Business Investor Alliance gave 10,000. Union Square Ventures 10,000. I'm not going to read all these, but you're getting the picture. She was supported across the board by all kinds of groups, big and small, with a bunch of relatively small contributions. They didn't have any data for Juan Pagan, okay, the Republican. But you've just seen, okay, Nydia got 80.5% of the vote. So that's pretty much the story. Let's see if there's anything new here, interesting. She got a lot of money from retired people, 47,426, and securities and investment, and public sector unions, and health professionals, and lobbyists in real estate. Relatively small contributions from insurance, from pro-Israel groups, from leadership PACs, from business associations, and so on. Let's look at the next tab, which is sectors. That should tell us a little more, be a little more illuminating. The fire sector, finance, insurance, and real estate, $95,000. Health, $50,000. Lawyers and lobbyists, $56,000. Keep in mind, Her overall contributions were about $600,000. So $95,000 is a real big piece of it. Health contributions, $50,127. That's a big piece. So lawyers and lobbyists, $56,000. That's a big piece. Then there's miscellaneous business, $91,900. We don't know what that is. Labor had a big piece at $48,500. Ideology single issue groups were at $27,000. There was another category of $66,000. Next, there are PACs. Business PACs, $195,400. Labor PACs, $48,000. Ideological PACs, only $16,000, and $1,000 from other. So she took about what would we say? About 40% of her total money came from PACs. And the other 400, the other contributions mostly came from individual contributions from well-off people. So we can see she fails a litmus test here. Also, it's quite apparent. And outside spending, she got $18 in support of her from outside spending. So that's her. So now we come to our third candidate for the night, who is Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania. I will share her page with you. Oh. Right. That was Bonnie going in back of me, of course. Pennsylvania, District 4, Open Secrets, Summary. Okay, Madeleine Dean raised almost $2 million. Of course, we know from other programs that is less than the average money raised per congressman. That is $3.5 million. This is just short of $2 million. But she's in a Democratic district. Her Republican opponent raised only $238,391. Madeleine Dean spent $1,821,622. Ended with cash on hand of $704,895. So she's been accumulating money from past campaigns. Her opponent, Christian Nascimento, raised $238,391, spent $236,961, ended with cash on hand of $1,430. So there was outside spending in support of Madeleine Dean of $34,723, and spending opposing her of $245, and $245 in support of Christian Nascimento. So she swamped him then in the outside spending area. But she had some outside spending. She did not repudiate the outside spending. So from our point of view, she fails a litmus test on those grounds. Okay. Right there. When we get to the candidates tab, though, we see that our small individual contributions were of $152,748, 7.83% of what she raised. Her large individual contributions greater than $200, $800, and 88,856, 45.54% of what she raised. Her PAC contributions are 993,300, 50.89% of what she raised. So she's a real PAC lady. And of course, she takes a lot of money from well-off people as well. Our campaign was based on funding from those sources. She had pretty good disclosure, 98.59% was full disclosure. By the way, she won handily, got 61.3% of the vote in what looks like a very Democratic district. And Christian Nascimento got 38.7% of the vote, considering by how much he was outspent. He did fairly well. His small individual contributions were 34,470. His contributions from well-off people were 186,121. That was 78.07% of his money. He got a small amount of PAC money from $12,175 in PAC money. There was another Republican who ran in this race, but they don't provide any data here for that particular candidate. Quickly whip through the contributors. Vote Sane PAC, $78,000. Don't know who that is. University of Pennsylvania, she's popular with them, $22,900. Ballard Spar LLP, $16,400. And then we get to various small contributions. One from Comcast of $12,800. And okay, this is not very revealing, so I am going to skip this and go to the next tab, which is the Industries tab. Securities and investments, 147,650. Insurance, 129,850. Retired, 127,128. Lawyers and law firms, 118,233. Real estate, 96,995. And miscellaneous issues, 89,450. Commercial banks, 72,800. Building trade unions, 63,000. Industrial unions, 49,500. Health professionals, 48,061. Pharmaceuticals, 44,725. Public sector unions, 42,250. Education, 40,668. Lobbyists, 30,450. Accountants, 29,150. 27,500. Okay, so leadership PACs, 25,400. So she got a lot of stuff across the board. We can probably learn more about this from looking at the sectors, which will aggregate the industry contributions. And there we get 79,000 from communications electronics. There are smaller contributions in here too. Defense was not very high at 12,950. The fire sector, 527,536. 1/4 of her fundraising came from the fire sector. The health sector, 132,771. Lawyers and lobbyists, 146,683. Labor, 191,750. Ideology, single issue, 171,897. That's probably the abortion issue, I would guess. Okay, so there's probably a lot of PAC money here, which we're going to find out right now. Well, we know there's a lot of PAC money from the other statistic we read. But from business PACs, 711,800. From labor PACs, 190,500. From ideological PACs, 72,412. So just about $1 million was raised from PACs, and the rest was raised from small dollar donations. But taking a quick look at outside spending, she did get some money in outside spending, $34,723 for her, $245 opposing her. So just let's see where the outside spending came from. Democratic Jewish Outreach, Pennsylvania, $4,157. Not much. The super PAC called Human Rights Campaign Equality Votes gave only $4. IBEW Local 98 gave her $531. The Jewish Democratic Council of America Super PAC gave her $1,978. Jeez. The National Association of Realtors gave her $14,536. And then again, its 501c group gave her $14,536. And its PAC gave her $12,955. So altogether about $27,000. Planned Parenthood gave her $8. Sierra Club, the Super PAC, gave her $10. The UFCW Local 1776 gave her $544. So most of that outside money came from the National Association of Realtors. She's popular with them. Okay. So she's taken some Super PAC money without repudiating the Super PAC. So she fails on that score. She's taking a lot of money from well-off people. She fails on that score. One half of her funding is coming from PACs. So she fails on that score. So tonight we have another clean sweep. All three candidates flunk the litmus test. What does this mean? We have a few other candidates to go through, which will probably be going through in future programs. I don't know exactly how many. It may turn out to be only one or two people. I think we're just about done with the CPC. So what is the immediate significance of this? Okay, I think the immediate significance is that the most lefty group in Congress, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, with nearly 100 members, does not yet have, and will probably end up not having, a single member who passes the litmus test. Someone might ask, is there something wrong with the litmus test? My answer is no. There's nothing wrong with the litmus test. Taking money from people who buy you has become so institutionalized in Congress that even its most left wing is taking that money and is taking it in large quantities, is beholden to special interests. You might not like that consequence, but in my mind, the conclusion has to be that we need a clean sweep of Congress. Now, we'll be adding more data to this soon because we are going to sample some of the other groups in Congress. For example, let's see how the Freedom Caucus does. Okay, let's see what kind of money they take It'll be interesting to go over, for example, Lauren Boebert's statistics. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene's, statistics, Matt Gates' statistics, see what they do. But I pretty much expect them to fail too, and we'll be starting to go over to them in future shows. But for now, the implication we're finding, which is more than a hypothesis right now, it's already a fairly well-established hypothesis that has yet to be refuted, is that every single congressman should be kicked out for failing the litmus test, because every single congressman is bought by somebody. And until we kick them out, it will be their donors that will be getting represented, and not us, not we the people. Okay. D,
Well,
have you got any rants you want to do with this?
it explains why we're a shithole country, right?
Actually, D, that's very well put. It explains why we're a shithole country. Certainly, we are becoming a shithole country.
No
And we,
health care, the roads are a mess, train derailments. You look at
yes,
China. Look at China, all they're doing.
yes,
The
we say
trains.
very frequently,
Yes.
A says this, actually says this very frequently, that they just don't care about us. And a lot of people say they just don't care about us, we the people. And we see why that is. They care about their donors who give them the money that they need to propagandize us and persuade us that they're worthy of re-election. So they care about their donors, but they don't care about us. Caring about your donors and caring about us cannot live in the same space. They are contradictory. It's them or it's us. We must get the toxic money out of politics.
That's why we have to go independent. We've got to get an independent revolution going.
Okay, there are many people who will tell you, including many of my friends, that you can't vote for major party candidates, that you have to vote for third parties. What I'm here to tell you is that it's not about the parties in the first instance. To the extent it is about the parties, that's only because the parties and the donors are in bed together. The first thing it's about is the donors and their domination of the political system. The only way to get rid of them and their domination of the political system is to get rid of the toxic money. The only way to get rid of the toxic money is to make that money toxic, not to us, but to those who are giving it. And the only way to do that is to vote against the people who are running and who are taking it. And by the way, if you do that, you're going to be voting against almost every candidate of the major parties, which means you're going to have to vote for people from the third parties. But I'm not saying that it's an imperative that you vote for third party people. I'm saying it's imperative that you vote for people who are not taking any of the toxic money. If it so happens that that results in a defeat of all the major party candidates, well, that's not my fault. It's just a consequence of the fact that the major party candidates have all sold out to the donors.
Yeah, I've been voting Green Party, so I feel good about that.
Yeah, you feel good about that. But what I'm saying is, one of the reasons you feel good about that is that Green Party people don't take big money when they run. They live on small dollar donations. And that's why they can be trusted to represent us. Now, I'm not much for libertarian candidates. I don't like their ideology. But if libertarian candidates were elected in some jurisdictions because they were the only candidates who were not taking big money, I think the constituents of those libertarian candidates can feel confident that those libertarian candidates would represent them and not the donors. For good or ill, they would represent them. And that's what our government is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be a representative government. That's number one, as far as I'm concerned. So, Dee, anything else?
Well, we get our revolutionary spirit back. I know you have yours, and there's a lot of people that have that spirit and just feel that we can do it. We can do it because the media is so strong telling you that you have to go this way or that way. This one's worse than that one. You have to pick the lesser of two evils, and all the drama they sell you. You can't listen to them. You cannot listen to them, and you've got to really, with strength within. Go within. You know what's best. You have a conscience, and you know what has to be done, and you do the right thing. Is what I always say.
And I entirely agree with that. Okay? I entirely agree with that. Uh, we do have to have a revolutionary spirit here. And make no mistake, the recommendation that one should not vote for any of the candidates taking the big money is a revolutionary recommendation because it will result in the wholesale replacement of congressional candidates with new congresspeople who will not be beholden to big money. That is a political revolution, even though it doesn't involve any violence. Now, you may ask, well, they'll rig the elections. If you overwhelmingly vote for people who aren't taking any of the money, they won't be able to rig the elections without entirely showing their hand because it will be a landslide of votes against the conventional candidates. They can rig, but they cannot completely and openly rig. They need fig leaves. If we vote 95% against the bozos who represent us now, they won't have any fig leaves they can use. They won't be able to rig. And in any case, let's say they can rig and they will rig, then everybody will know it. They won't be able to hide. And everybody will know that elections are ineffectual in bringing change. And what happens then? It means that all of us will turn to other methods of bringing change because change must come. If not, we will all die from failure to meet the climate emergency. We all know that. So, at a minimum, doing what we suggest is going to unmask of the reality surrounding elections. Either they will be effective in sweeping the whole Congress out, or they won't be because they're rigged. And then we will know for sure that we have to turn to other methods. So let the 2024 election be the last stand election. Let it be the election that shows whether elections can bring change to our suffering nation. Anything else you want to say?
Not right now. I think we have a lot of comments here.
Okay, let's go through the comments. Steve Wolfburn asks, so nobody passed the litmus test, right? Nobody passed the litmus test yet. Steve Wolfburn says, Doc, watch the Oscar nominee documentary Stranger at the Gate, free on YouTube, about a guy who's going to mass murder a mosque, went there and fell in love with the people. Thank you, Steve. I think I'll enjoy that particular documentary, and I will watch it on YouTube. And there's Bob Copeland. Hi, everybody. As I just got done speaking at a state assembly hearing here in Sacramento. Well, how'd it go, Robert? How'd it go? Jim Bird says, here in Iowa, principal insurance gives to both parties candidates for various offices, but they do give more money to the candidates they think are going to win. And Sandy Dick says, that's awesome, Robert. Robert says, I don't think anybody will pass the litmus test. You're dead right. Kay says, this country is way too corrupt. You're absolutely right. Kay. And Kay says, hi, Robert. I agree about the litmus test. Robert says, I will be attending a state senate hearing tomorrow morning. Sandy says, hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
And that's Sandy Deck.
Hi, Sandy.
And Jeff Denton leaves an icon I cannot see in this interface. Steve Wolfbrand says, cool, Robert. Jim Bird says, hi, Bonnie.
Hi.
And Steve Wolfbrand says, hello, Jeffrey. Sandy says, hi, Jeffrey. Robert Colton says, Joe, how is Bonnie doing?
Doing great.
How are you doing, Bonnie?
Great.
So you heard that? Bonnie says she's doing great. Robert Colton says, remember to smash that like button and share this video. Yes, I never remember to ask that because I'm always too involved in what I'm saying to ask that. But please do listen to Robert. Smash the like button, smash the share button, and smash the subscribe button. Like, share, and subscribe. I need subscribers. I've got to get to the 1,000 subscribers so I can monetize this thing. I do need to have a minimal amount of dollars arising out of this. I mean, right now, I'm receiving something like $43.03 a month. That doesn't even cover my expenses, of course. No. Sandy says, Mario DeSantis, New Jersey, the good DeSantis. Yes, he is the good DeSantis. I interviewed him, I guess, last winter sometime. She said he's running for the Senate in New Jersey. He is a good candidate. And I think he's an honest candidate. He says, I got to bounce, bedtime, good night, fam. Good night, Steve. Good night, fam. We are fam here. Steve is certainly fam. Everybody says good night. Kay, who is also fam, says hi, Jeff. Night, Steve. Jim Bird says hello, D. Sandy says laugh out loud. D got that right. Sandy says money is the root of all evil. It certainly is in politics. Jim Birds, where do we find those non-toxic candidates? Well, actually, Mario DeSantis, the candidate that Sandy was talking about is one of those good candidates. They will present themselves for Congress. If you get a chance to vote for Jason Call, he has become Green Party now. If he runs again, he's going to run as a Green Party candidate. So look for him to run as a Green Party candidate. He is a great candidate, as we found out in 2022. He's not taking any big money. I'm sure he won't take any in 2024. That's going to be his trademark. I think he's a pretty good bet. Jason Call is a wonderful bet if he decides to run. He's now run, if I'm not mistaken, 3 times, and he may be getting tired. But if he takes another shot at it, Jason Call in his district is hands down the best candidate in that Washington congressional district. And in my view, one of the best candidates in the country. A person who will never, never sell us out. Kay Ryan says, hi, Bonnie, miss you. Sandy says, Bonnie is the bomb.
How do they know what I am?
Well, they sort of observe you from afar. Sandy says, yikes. Okay, guys. Well, that was really fun. I have to say, it's really good to be back.
Yes, you've made everybody's evening. Everybody's happy that you're back. So you realize how much you missed, when you're not here?
Yeah, I
And
know.
everybody was asking for you. When's Joe coming back?
Yeah. Well, I had to get my blood pressure down, folks. But I did. I got it down. Okay, it's now below normal most of the time.
Well, that's good.
If anybody needs advice on how to do that, I think I can give some. Oh, not of course as a medical doctor, but just based on my own experience. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful evening. And I'll see you tomorrow on Empowering Democracy tomorrow. I'm going to be doing something that Kay in particular, Kay should really love. I'm going to be talking about SCOTUS and what SCOTUS has done to us. And I'll be making frequent reference to a great piece by Tom Hartman on that, which has recently appeared. And which is a very complete analysis of all the damage that SCOTUS has done to us over the last 40 or 50 years. And we'll be going over that, and we'll be going over how we can stop it, okay, as well, and how we can empower democracy. The only way to empower democracy is to get SCOTUS out of the way. If you need to get your BP down, Kay, and try breathing. Breathing techniques are all over the internet. Meditation techniques are all over the internet. Of course, cut your salt down.
Tapping.
That's very important. Also, tapping. You Google tapping. That works. And get more sleep. That works also. So those are the things that I've done. I'm also trying to be very conscious about stress, when it appears, why it appears, and how I can get out of the stress by changing my perspective. Kay says, I got new meds today. You mean for BP? Okay, they tried to put me on some BP meds a couple of weeks ago. I hated the side effects, so I told them no BP meds, and I went to natural methods. So for me, the natural methods worked. Anyway, good night, everybody. And I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Thanks for coming.
If you have a chance, please buy Joe coffee.
Oh, thank you very much, Dee.
And as was said before, to like, share, and subscribe.
All
And
right,
Joe's going to be on my show tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern time as well.
I will
So you
be.
get to see Joe. You get to see Joe twice.
Okay. Okay, take care, everybody.
Yes, good night.
Yeah, good night, Dee. And
Yeah, good
thanks.
night. You're welcome.